Mary, yes, everybody here was there. So let's vote on it. So all in favor, please, I'm going to go around. You can answer aye. Mary? Helene? Yeah, aye. Lee?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Fran?
Aye.
Robert? Rob?
Aye.
Okay, so that, it's unanimous for the people here. So 6-0. And the next one up is June 4th. Obviously, these were all virtual. And I believe all the people here were there as well, plus more. That was the town meeting update. COVID Cares Fund. That type of thing. A motion on the floor to approve June 4th, 2020 minutes. Mary, thanks. A second of that motion?
Second.
Lee? Okay, another vote. Mary, starting with Mary. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Helene, aye. Lee?
Aye.
Rob, you said
Aye.
yes. John?
I was not at that meeting.
Oh, right, you weren't. Thank you. Lee, Fran?
Aye.
Yes, Fran, you were there, I believe.
Yep.
Let me double check. Yep, you were there. Okay, so that's 5-0.
Can I,
Well, 5-0-1, one abstain. Yes.
Chris, this rolling back to the last conversation about collective bargaining agreements coming up. I read the bylaws as they relate to the advisory committee, and section K of the advisory committee bylaw says that no collective bargaining agreement shall be considered at a town meeting or special town meeting that will consider appropriating the necessary monies to fund the cost of items contained in said agreement unless that agreement has been presented to the advisory committee no later than 30 days prior to the start of the meeting. Has that been the practice?
Kinda. I think, so the select board obviously has to approve all of these, and typically what'll happen is we'll run them through the advisory when last time we did this was 3 years ago. And we'll usually present them in an executive session and just go over where they are and people can ask questions.
Okay.
They don't always link to a town meeting. So what we've done is we've slotted a chunk of money and we usually stick it in the town manager's budget for settlements. So everyone knows what the amount is and what we're talking about. And then we distribute it after the fact, should there be a settlement.
Okay, I haven't been through one of those cycles yet, so I'm interested.
In this case, I think it's most certainly helpful. Again, if you all want to have a meeting or two where we just talk about contracts and what they look like, that's fine. I can even have our labor council come in and chat, or just Miriam and myself. It's happy to have those conversations. So the schools are kind of in the same kind of cycle we are, so it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, I think we should, because I think every time we talk we should remind about contracts, we should remind ourselves what percentage of our overall budget labor cost, and particularly collectively bargained labor cost is. It's got to be over 50, 60%.
Yeah, John.
My characterization would be that we've gotten briefings.
Yes.
We haven't had a presentation, I don't think, in the sense of the full contract language having been presented to us. And anything of that detail is sort of after the fact. So you've got part of this classic thing of where the real important input, as you say, is along the way. But the bylaw provision is sort of what happens at the end when it's pretty close to fait accompli. It's a bit difficult to disrupt at that point. So I agree that sort of setting out the process, and I think in retrospect, a more active involvement in the process would be indicated, and some planning could sort of usefully construct what that ought to be.
Lee.
Okay. The reason for the bylaw was At town meeting, we'd meet the advisory board would meet a half an hour to an hour before town meeting, and they'd give you the contract. And that's ridiculous. So by the 30 days, it helps everybody. It helps the union negotiate. They know they can't get it. If they don't have it ready by town meeting, they won't have it for another 6 months. So that's the reason that bylaw was put in there. Because it's getting pretty silly to be there at town meeting and they dump everything on you and everybody votes for something they don't even know about. So that's the reason the bylaw is there, and it's good bylaw. I present it.
I think John's comment is to take that and expand it kind of back in time a little bit more, to be
Yeah.
involved a little bit earlier when the sausage is being made. But Lee, that's an interesting and it's good to have the institutional history of where it comes from, because it is a whole lot better. And it does. It puts a bright line condition precedent on the ability of the town to vote on a contract. Really, I mean, that taken literally. So I don't want to belabor the point, no pun intended, but I just thought it, in terms of planning what we're going to do, and since Chris mentioned that we're going into this big cycle, I think it should be something that we're aware of. I also like the fact our bylaw is really interesting because it requires other boards to come before us, literally. So I think we should make them come to an inconvenient location known only to the advisory committee, but that's a conversation for another day as well.
No, I think that's a good point, especially, I went through two major bargaining periods being on the school board for 6 years. And, I got to be in at the whole bargaining stage with, I think, 5 unions, and it's complicated. And I think for us to be exposed and back it up, like John said, is really, really helpful. And it is a huge percentage of our taxes go to staff, especially in the schools and things like that. So yeah, and that leads us to, well, the one thing I wanted to say, we're just going to hold on that July 14th meeting, and we're going to hold to our next. We're going to, Mary agreed to send us out our portion of that combined meeting, and so you'll get that from Mary, and we'll have that at our next meeting, and then we'll be caught up. Obviously, we'll have the notes in the minutes from this meeting. So they'll be very happy with us at the town clerk's office. Anyway, but what we're going to get into next is basically the scheduling. And Chris and I had a conversation today, and we need to get a little sense. We're not going to be governed by the same things that happened last year because we're not having a town meeting in November. We had it, I believe, in December. Chris and I were trying to figure that out when we had it. I think it was in early December. Was December 1st or something?
Yeah, I have to double check. It's funny. I moved.
Anyway, so our agenda was our timing of our meetings and the topics were tied into that town meeting. But the budget process starts, we're talking 2022, 21-22, which is defined as 22 budget. So, Chris, do you have some idea, like what, in terms of structure in this non-special town meeting time?
Well, based on, I think, where you're going tonight, I would suggest you schedule a few meetings, or at least come up with a schedule. You don't have to schedule the whole fall if you don't want to, but it sounds like you might want to, if the select board's going to meet on the 6th, if you could meet on the 24th in 2 weeks, if that's reasonable. Who do we just, Don left. Okay. Oh, he turned up his camera. Okay. Because my screen changed on me. Does that seem reasonable, John and Rob, to come back in 2 weeks for you all to talk about a message to the board?
When is the select board meeting? On the 16th, did you say?
No, it's on the 6th. It's on they're meeting on the 25th. I'm sorry, they're meeting on the 22nd, and they meet again on the 6th.
They're meeting on the 22nd of September.
And then again on October 6th. But based on the fact that everything's a little bit delayed, I think they want you folks to have something to give to them before they.
Okay. So you want us to meet on the 24th?
Is that reasonable?
I think so. What do you think, Rob and John? Can you handle that?
Qualified, yes.
Okay,
The qualification is just that my schedule is subject to disruption at any time. I'll let you know if that happens.
okay. You have a co-partner though, so he could maybe help you too.
All right, what, did you say the 27th?
The
24th,
24th. It's a Thursday.
24th?
2 weeks from tonight. Does that work?
Yeah, and long as it's at 7:30, I see patients up until the last, 7:30 p.m. instead of 7.
Yeah, I can make the 24th work.
Can Mary and Lee and Fran, can you make it?
Yep.
Okay,
And yes, well, you can just see if Meg can make it.
right.
And hopefully by then, maybe the tracker will have met. You might have 2 new members. So,
That would be great.
Leader,
and Rob can, John, you can still be a holdover because it's got to still be a third. So I don't know. But I think we only have applications for 2. Honestly, there's only 2 up. I mean, I've done everything but like knock on doors at this point. So
We have 2 very strong candidates. We need 1 more.
if any of you, because we didn't know about Tom Baker. Tom declined his reappointment fairly recently because of COVID and everything else. If anyone knows anyone, please pass up the ladder or get them to.
Right. Are we allowed to say out loud in front of the advisory who the 2 are?
Yeah, the 2 that are under consideration at the moment that have applied are Gene Estino, Gene Healy-Dippold. I think everyone knows Gene Estino.
Right.
The school
Start
committee.
with Mary and I.
And then Jean Dippold had been on the planning board, and she had run as a writing campaign for select board. And Diane and her, Diane Kennedy, have met for a while. And I think Jean's interested, and Jean represents different segments of the community. Both bring a lot of, I think, experience and different kinds of knowledge. So I think they've both applied, and I think they're both interested. But there isn't a third. At the moment, there's not a third applicant even to consider. So if anyone has any.
I'll have to think about it. So think and get.
Can't draft it for another term, John. I wish we could, but you have to take time. You have to take a year off. So.
Anyway,
Fortunately, my bored son is back in Schenectady. So,
Well, Zoom meetings, he could be on Zoom. You don't have to
Yeah.
be here.
anyway, so that's important that we're on top of that. So September 24th, a definite. That's our meetings.
Do you want to pick a date in October to have a follow?
Yes. So they're going to meet on October 6th. So we could have maybe a follow-up meeting on October 8th. Is that possible?
Possible for me.
Is that possible for people?
Just put it down.
Not for me.
What? Not for you, John?
No, I'm not available on the 8th.
Okay. Well, by then, who knows? We may have a third person. And we should have Meg and other people. We should be able to meet, on the 8th. Because I think the first doesn't make sense. We could wait to the 15th. Is that a problem, Chris?
No, that's fine too.
Are you available, John, on the 15th?
I think I'm not available on any Thursdays in October. Let me check.
Okay, so why don't we then just do the 8th?
Eileen, is there a reason that we're looking at Thursdays instead of Wednesdays this year?
What's on Wednesdays? Is that?
We met on Wednesdays last year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
It's just a question. I don't know if it makes a difference to Meg.
School committees are on Wednesdays.
No, it is good to be able to watch those, especially
Yeah.
this year.
that's right, because I like to watch the school board. I mean, it's so much part of our budget.
I could do Thursdays if we did it earlier, but not at that
I could do it at 7. Is that better? I can't do it sooner than 7.
I probably would have to leave early.
But we could do 7. Is 7 better for people than 7:30?
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we switch to 7?
So I'll book you in for the 24th and the 8th, and at that point you can schedule some further ones depending on.
Yes. Okay, so we're booked in for the 24th and the 8th. We're going to switch to 7.
Okay.
It's just hard with the pandemic. People need me at night. So I'll just make sure I end a little early. Okay?
Excellent. And again, just to, if I didn't make that clear, so the select board did talk about, I talked with them about the special town meeting, and there's nothing pressing. There's really no particular reason to have one right now. Again, doing it outdoors is going to be problematic as it gets colder. And we don't really have any more knowledge. I mean, finances, until the state adopts something, there's nothing we can really work off.
What is the status of the town hall planning?
Actually, they had a really good meeting the other night. So this COVID crisis has given them both new inspiration and I think some new opportunities. You know, one of the things that's happened, and by the way, I think getting them to do an update from the Board of the select board and all of you is a good idea. If any of you happen to be in the building or want to take a walk around, that records maintenance thing has happened, and there's been a big clearance. I mean, we're getting rid of dozens upon dozens of boxes of old crap. I hate to call it that, but that's what it is. There's a beautifully organized records room now downstairs, kind of behind that meeting room. And there's more stuff at the library that's been all beautifully organized. And there's an electronic database now of all this information, which is awesome. We're also going to have an intern starting in a week or two is going to start scanning stuff. We have the in-house ability, so we're going to start doing some more scanning, which is awesome. So that's opened up the room in the front that was full of filing cabinets. That's all gone. All those junkyard filing cabinets were recycled as well. And then upstairs, there was kind of like a loft in the mini attic. That's all cleaned out. We've also done some, put in a couple little cubicle in the front to see how that kind of workspace will work, and also to allow people to have swing space to keep people safely socially distant. There was some work done in an office up at, if anyone knows where that first off, when you're right by the assessor, like across the hall, they ripped up the carpeting, which was crappy and old. It was beautiful hardwood, which we restored for a few $100. It's beautiful. The hardwood runs all along the second floor, at least where the offices are. So there's really beautiful bones hidden underneath the old paint and the drop ceiling. So there's some real opportunities to restore that. I mean, I think that building is going to look beautiful when it's finally restored.
Really? This is the old town hall?
Town hall. So the town hall committee has been looking at all these things, and they've been meeting with the architect, and they've been meeting internally. And they did present to the select board before the pandemic. Thankfully, got some further direction. And I think that they're working to try to get this project shrunken a little bit to make it economical. And one of the news we got from Mark Cameron, who's the vice chair of the committee, I think, said, and he's in the construction business. He works for Tully. He said, right now, there's no accelerator in construction costs because of the economy. They were looking at 2%, 3%, 4% a year. Right now, that's all frozen. The town may end up okay. If we, providing a plan comes together that people can support, the spring might be a really, really good time to be able to approve something and go to bid. I mean, there could be firms looking for work. Prices could be good.
Do they have what they need to continue productively without a meeting?
Yeah, they have enough money to get through, and it's going to have to be some more public input, obviously, on a design level. And again, so they're building off the tremendous work that's already been done too. So that they didn't start from scratch. So that said, I think the pandemic has opened up the opportunities to rethink how the public might interact, and how and the fact that we might be able to have some staff work from home from time to time in a way we didn't know that we could do before. So all things, and that's going to help with relocation plan. We don't have to put everybody in an office anymore. Look, I mean, I'm in the office, but John's in Michigan, Donna's in Plymouth. Okay, so we can make this work in a different way than we could when we're temporarily relocated. So that's going to save us money too. During any kind of renovations, we don't have to lease space or do a bunch of trailers. We might be able to have a little tighter space. So they're looking at all these options, including green energy. So hopefully later in the fall, we should get them in to have a briefing with them. Let me just make a note.
Thank you. Any more questions on anticipated topics or anything like that? Not reasonably anticipated? If not, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, Lee made the motion. John second. And before we take a vote, I just want to thank you all for being here tonight. And we brought up some really important things, and especially what Rob said about our role as the advisory. And it's in the bylaws. We need to, especially we've been stepping it up and being on top of things, not waiting till the last minute when contracts are signed and they're way far gone. So I think it's really important. Anyway, so let's take a vote to adjourn the meeting tonight. A roll call vote. Mary?
Aye.
Colleen? Aye. Lee?
Aye.
John?
Okay.
Fran?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And thank you for volunteering, John and Rob. And we'll see you all the next meeting on the 24th at 7. Okay? That's a Thursday. Take care.
Thanks, Don.
Good night.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Aye.